Just a small explanation of putting the circuit back into the housing. Um, you have to fit them back down in onto the tabs, and as I mentioned before, I was going to use screws, so you can see these small little screws that I drilled into those little tabs. You have to be really careful though, because they're molded into the cups for the reflectors. So I found the smallest screws that I could and just drilled a small pilot hole, and the full ring is fastened in there. And I'll do the same thing with the top. What I did with my additional circuit, if I move this out of the way, I put the fuzzy side of stick-on Velcro here and back behind here on this one, and you can see I have a zip tie going through the holes on the circuit board, and then I just connected 2 more zip ties in a row, and they're not super tight, but this just sort of creates like a little harness for the circuit to not move around. And what I intend on doing is taking some more Velcro and just putting a strip across here to insulate it from all these resistors and stuff like that, and then just put the half ring back on top of it, put the screw in, and the circuit will hold itself in there, and that'll pretty much be it, minus putting the back cover on and sealing it up. But I really don't have to explain that too much, but yeah, and then you just slide the little side marker light down in the little slot down in here, and then you got the tab on here that holds it into. And I have the circuit all fastened in. Try to get some light down in there. So with the Velcro and then the zip tie wrapped around a couple of these, it's actually in there pretty good. It's not going to knock around or anything like that. Got my 2 screws here and here. They're just smaller ones because I didn't want to break through that lens molding, and just made sure my routing wasn't interfering with anything. It was out of the way, and just slide a little marker down into its little tab. This thing you have to be careful with because it's not really secure in there, so you gotta watch as you like tighten the cover down onto here. That doesn't like pop out of place, and I just insulated this with some tape so it doesn't rub on that. Got the back of the housing back together. Really wasn't too bad. Once you put the screws in, it actually sandwiches this against the inner lens that you see in there, and it was a little bit tricky getting it like lined up along with that side marker light that you had to make sure stayed in place. But there's 2 screws here and then 1 screw up in here, and it just sandwiched all together. And now all I have left to do is just put silicone all the way around this seam that I cut in the housing, let it dry and cure for probably a day or so, and put it on and try it. And obviously put the little adapter back on the plug and the reverse light and stuff back in. The final stage of the project, I've got everything already siliconed. Pretty much what I did, I made sure all the circuit boards were properly seated, including the side marker light on the outside, and I put the single screw here on this upper side in first, and didn't tighten it all the way, just made sure it had some threading into the inner lens housing or inner lens unit, and then made sure both of these threaded in about halfway. And I used just regular clear G silicone, and instead of using this in a caulking gun, which is kind of awkward and you can't really control it easily, I got a little plastic zip bag, pumped a bunch of it into the corner, and cut the corner off and sort of use it like a cake decorator, so you can get like more precise of a bead and get down to those really tight corners with the bag itself. So I put the bead completely around. I actually went overboard just to make sure it was properly sealed up, and then I scraped it off to make it look clean, and double checked just to make sure there were no like holes or anything like that to be exposed. So I'll give this like a day or 2 or 3 to cure up, and once it's done, pretty much all I got to do is take the plug from the circuit board and plug it into the adapter to the vehicle, twist this down into this little socket, put in the reverse light, which I might actually take the one out of the vehicle now. This one came with it, and after touching it and stuff, I don't really rely on it. And then I got 2 little breather grommets that go on these little extrusions here. So yeah, once this all dries up, we'll get on the car, and hopefully I'll have a taillight that lights sequentially.